going on, MBL? We are live here, MBL 360. If you catch it live, you'll get the information first and hot off the presses. And we got a good show in store for you tonight. It's MBL Season 52, Episode 2, MBL 360. I'm joined alongside my co-host for tonight, and always the legend, the lover, the freak of the sheets, Sonny Weaver's alongside me. And we got a great show today, a lot of topics. We're going to touch on a lot of different teams. You're going to stay tuned and check that out. Sonny, first off, how you doing?
That took a weird turn. I'm not going to lie. That started going down a path I'm not sure we were going to recover from. But it's all right. It's all right. We're excited. I mean, that kind of preseason action.
It's whatever pops in my head, Sonny. We should know this by now. Let's go ahead and move forward. We got 3 up, 3 down, and we're on a time crunch here, per my man Sonny Weaver. So I got to make sure my producer's happy. 3 up, 3 down. Sonny, start us off. What do you want to go up, down? Let's go up, man. I think that's a positive vibe to start the show.
Yeah, we're going to go up. We're going to do a little preseason 3 up and 3 down. So we got preseason to talk about, or excuse me, I should say off season. We're going to start with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Is there any team that is better at drafting in the MBL? I would say no. That hurts my soul a little bit to say, I've got to admit, but Playa has it going on there. When you look at what they did in terms of acquiring multiple second-round picks there from the Baltimore Ravens, they got some extra resources throughout the years. They drafted 7 players with ability in a single draft. 4 of those higher depth players are all on the offensive line. And then you throw in some really nice FA additions. I like Grant Delpit, Harrison Butker, Keenan Allen. Right, this team dominated the offseason.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at Jacksonville. We're going to put them on the screen here in just 1 second. Verify my Discord as we're trying to get on, and there we are. All right, so we're going to be live on the screen here. If you check it out, this is the Jacksonville Jaguars offense. As Sonny said, 7 superstars, an X factor at tight end. Sonny, did you like that pick at number 2 going tight end? I knew where he was going.
I loved him. I scouted tight end heavily myself. I thought he was the best tight end in this class, one of the top 5 players in the entire class I had on my board. I loved it. I loved the pick.
Absolutely. And dominating the offensive line. 4 offensive linemen, 3 could probably start today, but I've heard from the Jacksonville Jaguars, they are starting no rookies this season. Does it change your up, down, prediction for them on the way up still, or is this still a team trending up? They're not going to start any rookies. Not week 1. Maybe
question the coaching decisions. I question the coaching decisions, but I can appreciate the GM work. I did see they got Garrett Bowles, so obviously they got 3 superstar rookie tackles, but instead they're going to put Garrett Bowles out there. Kind of a weird situation. Maybe some of those players will be up for trade at the end of the year. We'll see.
All right, let's go ahead and move it with 3 up, 3 down here. We just did an up. You want to go ahead and just do the next down?
Yeah, we'll throw it down out there. Let's go with the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? There's nothing inherently wrong with the offseason as a whole, right? They had to deal with some cap issues. There weren't any great quarterbacks out there for them. I actually kind of like their draft. But I think what a lot of people are concerned about was that trade, right? TJ Watt out on his way to San Francisco, along with Joey Porter Jr., Deebo Samuel coming back with Dre Greenlaw. A lot of people in the league had some questions about it. I'm kind of mixed on it. I know you've got some pretty strong feelings about it.
Yeah, here's my thought. All right, you got a team, right? What are you building around? You're either bringing in a quarterback or bringing in a guy to get to the quarterback. You can't trade those type of players. And they're gonna say, "Well, TJ Watt's 29 years old. He's still rocking and rolling, clicking and a ticking. This guy's probably gonna go 33, 34 years old, still being a dominant force. Came off a poor season last year. Absolutely get it. But how can you let go of some guy that gets to the quarterback, Sonny? That's just the bread and butter defensive. How defensive teams that were average one year can become great the next.
Well, so I will play devil's advocate here. I know you were more on the down here than I was. You've got TJ Watt, and that's great. He wasn't very productive last year on a team that was 29th in the league on defense, right? So the idea is like, look, even if it makes your team worse on defense, you don't have far to go in terms of being the worst defense in the league. That said, AFC North, you've got the reigning Super Bowl champion there. You've got the AFC 1 seed there. It's an arms race. It's an offensive shootout kind of game. And so bringing Deebo Samuel in gives Kenny Pickett another weapon, and we'll see if they can keep up.
Yeah, we're going to find out because we're going to follow this throughout the season to see how TJ Watt does in his new threads. In San Francisco, playing along Aaron Donald, Bosa, and now TJ Watt. Is that a ferocious front line or what? That's going to be something we're going to have to watch moving forward. Now, albeit if Steelers come out and they're balling on offense and they're making things happen, and the defense seems about the same as it was last year, maybe even a little bit better, and I don't see it over in San Francisco for TJ Watt. Maybe this is something they knew and I didn't, but at this moment in time, it's a head-scratching moment this offseason for me to see the Steelers dump their pass rusher to bring more firepower on offense, especially at a skill position like wide receiver. I just didn't feel like it was equally matched there in the trade, but hey, I could be wrong. It wouldn't be the first time. Let's go ahead and get a positive spin here. Let's move up to another up, our second one of the day in this 3-up, 3-down segment.
NFC, the NFC North, your stomping grounds, but we're not going with the Detroit Lions. No, sir. We are going with the Chicago Bears. Probably a little underrated for the offseason, but when you start looking at it, they basically rebuilt their whole defensive line in free agency. They added Leonard Williams. They added Carl Lawson. They added DJ Jones. Secondary, they get the vets. They get Harrison Smith, Quandre Diggs, and Kenny Moore, right? So they built this defense, and oh, by the way, they added Austin Eckler to give them another weapon on the offense. So really liked what they did in free agency. They added Jabari Justice, a left end, 79 overall, and Howie Conover, a left outside linebacker, 74 overall in the draft. Did a lot of good stuff there. I would have liked to have seen him get one more pass catcher maybe on the offense there to help that offense kind of flourish a little bit more. But from what they did defensively, they basically took a really bad defense and put a lot of talent on that team.
Yeah, I see the talent. Harrison Smith, and I'm with you. They're an enemy of the state, but I'm with you here, Sonny. I wasn't with you in the Pittsburgh thing, and I know you softened a little bit. I feel like when the pressure came, you really looked at it and said, well, it could be good, maybe, right? You're playing devil's advocate. I can't do that. I can't go against Chicago here because I agree with you just a little too much here. I like this team, and I think the 35-year-old Harrison Smith, let me check that to be accurate. Eddie Jackson also in their secondary. But you got 35-year-old Harrison Smith. I think he's going to be a game changer for this defense. If they keep him this year, maybe even roll into next year, he's going to be that leader that he's going to play this year. Next year might move into that role, but I think he can help shape this defense for years to come and have an impact that we've yet to see here in Chicago.
Yeah, he's got years left in him.
All right, let's go ahead and move on. That was our second up. Let's go to our second down here.
Oh, boy. All right, so the second down, we're going to go to the man in the wandering desert. If you are in the MBL and you don't have a quarterback, it's like being in the desert without a drink of water. And we've got the Miami Dolphins that are wandering in that desert right now. The Dolphins spent the whole offseason looking for a quarterback, right? They shipped Tua out, send him to purgatory in Las Vegas where he won't be much better. Then they go to the draft. They draft a couple quarterbacks. Not sure any of them are the answer. I think they signed Mike White as a backup in free agency. They still don't have a quarterback in Miami. They basically spent the whole offseason trying to figure it out. Didn't answer that question. I don't think this is going to get any better here, which means this Miami Dolphins team, and unfortunately those insane weapons they have done there, will continue to struggle.
Yeah, no interest in going and playing in Miami. There's a lot of quarterbacks that would love to play with Tyreek Hill, would love to see Jalen Ramsey, Bradley Chubb, Xavier Howard, Teron Armstead on their defense. They got Odell Beckham as another weapon they brought in this year, but no quarterback. It doesn't matter if you can't throw the ball to these receivers. Well, I mean, I guess Tua kind of threw it to a receiver 60 other times, but it was to the receiver on the other team. And he's not even really a receiver, so it had to be a really good pass that was super inaccurate, but also accurate at the same time to get intercepted that many times. Sonny, are you with me on that one? I mean, you understand what I'm saying there, right? So
I know what you're trying to say.
They're in trouble.
Yeah.
They're in trouble. I mean, what do you do? What do you do? Hey, how about this? We're saying they're in trouble. We're agreeing here. That's boring. What could they do, Sonny? Who's out there? Who's out there from Miami? Who should they go after?
Well, I think Seattle's trying to shop Malik Willis still.
Oh.
That's the crazy thing.
So you're going to put Malik Willis's arm with these speedsters they have in Miami at wide receiver? You might be on something.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
I don't think you keep both those speedsters if you get Willis. I think what's going to happen is one of those guys are going to end up in Seattle for the Seahawks to play with. So we'll see, right? I think there's some options there. There's some other potential options I could see coming available here at the trade deadline. But, they may be looking to the draft yet again next year, maybe picking very high.
You see on the roster right now, Ty Brooks, Corbin Knowles. Take a look at Ty Brooks real quick. That's the rookie out of UCLA. The UCLA Bruin, 6'1", 228 pounds. And what's the third pick in the draft? Get to know him. He's going to play this year unless they do something that maybe they've already drafted against and they're going to go this direction. That's what it seems like already. Let's go ahead and move forward. Our last team on the rise here so far in this offseason.
This is one that I was watching during the draft, really excited about. Went back, looked at their free agency moves, realized they were doing some really sneaky things, and that's the Washington Commanders. So they had issues up front. They had to get that figured out. They went ahead in free agency. They got that taken care of. They bring in Isaiah Wynn, Dalton Reiser, Kevin Dotson, right? They basically solidified the interior of that offensive line to give their quarterback a lot of options to kind of sit back there and pick people apart. Defense, they go and help out the linebacker position. They bring in Kenneth Murray. They bring in Jerome Baker. They added a tight end in the draft I really liked, and Justin Giraldo. Strong safety Sean Groves comes in, and then Kevin Langford, the wide receiver. So this was a very good offseason, but probably one of the more underrated offseasons, I would say, in MBL.
You know what I really took away from Washington this offseason that caught my eye? Was what happened to our halfback. One of our best duels there on MBL Live. We got to see Bijan versus Brian. It was Brian Robinson, right? A Washington Commander halfback.
Yeah.
And he's gone. And to me, that was a big loss because when I was able to commentate and watch that game live and watch them run, it just seemed like everything was going through him. And he seemed to be the guy. Obviously, they've drafted a rookie, Hugh Harden, number 36.
Hugh Harden.
Is he going to be able to kind of fill that void? Because that was a necessary, asset to this team, and the success they had last year was predicated on a lot of running the ball. So that's where I'm worried about Washington. All the other stuff, that was the one thing that kind of caught my eye, and I go, Sam Howell was as good as that running attack was. When the running attack wasn't really moving the ball too well, you saw a lot of struggling from Washington at that position. But let's go ahead. We can move forward here to our final down as we got the Commanders on the screen.
Yeah, so let's roll to the final down. So the final down, we're going to go back to the AFC. A lot of AFC downs this 3-up, 3-down. May need to get some bias out of here, but my last down here, the LA Chargers, right? This team was in cap trouble. Totally understand that. No problems there. Gotta do what you got to do. But what's really kind of interesting here was how they did it, right? They traded for Jerome Baker before last season. They let Jerome Baker walk. Don't even give him a contract. Then they let Kenneth Murray walk. Nobody even knows he's leaving. Could have gotten picks for him. Then they let Khalil Mack walk. I get it. Big contract. Got to move on. Then they cut Keenan Allen. Again, they shopped him a little bit. Didn't really push him too hard. So then you start looking around and you start wondering, what are they doing in LA, right? They're letting all this talent leaving. They're not getting anything back. That's a team that was one of the more talented teams in the league. Now you start questioning, are they ever going to get that talent back?
I see it. This was an offseason that probably, I think, Chargers ownership would look to avoid in the future. It's just one of those things financially. We're trying to get right back into a solvent green, right? We're trying to be in a situation where everything is, we have a little bit of cushion to make a move without breaking the bank. And Chargers kind of came into this last season. They have a lot of high contracts, a lot of guys going up. Yeah, as you said, Keenan Allen was being shot. Mike Williams was on the block for a little bit. He ends up staying in Los Angeles. But, yeah, I think they lost a lot of talent, lost a lot of good veterans. But they had to make some decisions. You still have a talented group, but, yes, slightly depleted right now. So I think next year's draft is going to be really big for the Chargers. All right, let's go ahead and move forward here from LA. We're going to go down to Sonny's power rankings. I don't even know these top 10. We're going to go down 10-1. Is that right, Sonny?
We're going to start on the bottom and work our way up, right? The Weavers rankings, we'll have these each week, and we'll talk about the ups and the downs and what's happening across MBL. We're not just going by records, right? We want the guys that are the best teams on the list. And so we're going to start at the bottom. And this is a little bit of a reach. And Bomber, you've talked a lot about these guys. You talked about them on episode 1.
Well,
I'm going to start at number 10.
Hold on. I didn't look at that part. I promise. I have not seen that part. But are we talking about Atlanta Falcons?
We're talking about the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh, we are.
Right?
They were sneaky. He's in the building right now.
They were sneaky. They were sneaky last year. We got to give them some respect. I think you talk about the difference between winning and losing is such a fine line. They had so many games last year that were one-score games that if they could just flip half of those games, they'd be in playoff contention, right? And so you start thinking, hey, they had a great draft. They didn't make our 3-up or 3-down list, right? But they had a great draft. I think they've infused this team with some talent. I think they're kind of a sneaky pick for an outside shot at a wild card.
I like them. You like to see teams like this grow. You're always worried that maybe that was the year last year they kind of fumbled it. How will they bounce back this year? But they know, in that locker room, they know. Their first 4 games were overtime losses. Their next 3 losses were less than a score. Were less than 6. So this is a team that knows how to be in those games late, and they kind of figured out the winning part of being in those tight moments that they got that experience early in the season, and it started establishing this team's identity, right? They were going to come down, they were going to stay in the game, they were going to hang around, and they could beat you at the end. I like them at 10. They're a sneaky 10. Might not be in there to our next podcast, but right now, I like it. That's the up and up there for the Atlanta Falcons. Let's go ahead and move forward.
Yeah, so at number 9, we're going to jump to the NFC North. We're going to talk about the Detroit Lions. They came alive towards the end of the year, snuck into the playoffs. You know, look, I think this team's coming together. Jared Goff's figuring some things out. They get another weapon in Donovan Peoples-Jones to go opposite of Amon-Ra St. Brown, as well as your speedster Williams out there. So I like the Detroit Lions here to step in at number 9.
Yeah, I'm not going to go too much into this one, but Detroit Lions offense significantly improved. What was that?
Just a little chuckle. A little chuckle.
The Lions offense significantly improved to the end. It seems like they're figuring some stuff out. Offensive line absolutely solid. Drafted a solid offensive lineman. Not going to start this year. Siri is going to be someone that probably starts in MBL season 53. The defense was really young this year. Hopefully some improvements. And if the defense can get some stops, yeah, this team could be dangerous. But let's go ahead and move forward. Who do we got here coming in at number 8?
Number 8, we're going to pull in the Kansas City Chiefs, right? And I know it's easy to remember the last time we saw them, they were getting their, backside rammed in by the Baltimore Ravens, right? They were at one point the front runner of the AFC for a large part of the season. So we know Isaiah Pacheco can carry that team. There's a lot of questions, though, in kind of big games. We saw it last year against the Cincinnati Bengals. We saw it against the Baltimore Ravens. Like, can they beat those top teams? We're not sure yet. We will find out more, but we're going to bring them in here at number 8. We're going to give them the benefit of the doubt and think they're still a title contender.
Okay, I'm calling this one, Sonny. This is a shot. This is a shot at Kansas City. Kansas City, to me, is a top 4 team right now, especially if we're talking regular season Kansas City. I get what you're saying. The questions are in the big moments in the playoffs and the big games during the regular season. Can they come through? I don't know. They lost all 3 of them last year, but they were 14-3. I believe they finished 14-3. It wasn't 13-4. Either way, this team was number 2 in the AFC. It's a very low ranking. From a lot of information we've got today, AFC's on the way down, and now we're getting underrating these Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm not going to stand for it right now. Patty Mahomes, you got to respect them, Sonny. You have to respect Patty Mahomes in this offense, and Pacheco at the halfback position. If he continues to stay healthy, this team's going to be just as dangerous as they were last year. Now let's go ahead and move on, and let's go to, where are we at, number 7 here?
We're at number 7. At number 7, we're going back over to the NFC. Going to land in the NFC East, talking about the New York Football Giants. Disappointing into their season. They had a lot going for them, right? Saquon Barkley is that offense. Danny Dimes doing enough to make it happen. I like the addition of Joe Mixon, cut from Cincinnati during the offseason. They bring him in there. They got a little 1-2 punch there, making him not so reliant on Saquon Barkley if for some reason he does go down. So I think they've bolstered there. They've made a couple other moves I'm not super excited about, but I think they've done enough to be competitive there still. I like them at number 7 in the NFC.
Now you look at this team, we cover them on Building the Franchise. New York Giants, you know this team. They're going to be on this network here tomorrow night. But this is a team I want to get rocking and rolling, Sonny. So, hey, you got them at 7. I'm believing you because that's where I want them to be. I think our biggest rivalry right now for the New York Giants isn't even in the division. I think it's the Carolina Panthers down in that NFC South. And I'm sure you got them higher than the Giants right now. I'd be surprised if they weren't on the top 10. But these New York Giants, that's who we're chasing right now. We're trying to take their spot there in the NFC.
Yeah, so funny you say that. Let's segue right in. At number 6, we got the Carolina Panthers. I swear, Bomber hasn't seen this list. Carolina comes in here.
No cap, yeah.
Yeah, that's so funny. Carolina Panthers, right? They check in at number 6. They had that disappointing loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to end the season. I think they're a team that's got a lot of high upside. They were without their quarterback for most of the year. I think as he gets healthy, gets to play a little bit more, that team will flourish. And so I think Carolina is definitely a contender there in the NFC.
And boy, do I have an opinion on Tampa if Tampa's on this list. That was the miracle X Factor dark horse team for a good part of the season. And when they got into the playoffs, they got really electric, and they kind of upset the bracket in the NFC. I love Carolina. 6, I'd probably, if this wasn't a collaborative effort, I could have talked myself into Carolina being in the top 4 right here, but I think 6 is a great spot for them. It's a solid spot. It's where they deserve to be, slightly ahead of my New York Giants, sadly, for now. Let's go ahead and move on. What are we at, 6 now?
No, we're at 5. So 5, we're going to go over to the AFC. We're going to put the Houston Texans in there, right? The Cinderella team of the MBL last season, a team that had a lot of young players on it. I like the addition of Amari Cooper in the offseason. They made some good draft picks here in the draft, so I think CJ Stroud, healthy for a whole season, should have a lot of options there to win that. And so I like the Houston Texans sitting here at number 5.
I got nothing to say. I love Houston. I love Houston. I love the way they play. They're a defensive team that can ground and pound you. Nothing more to say. This is a grinded-out team that knows how to win, and they've shown they can have success. I'm interested to see that Texans-Colts rivalry start heating up here in MBL Season 52.
So we're going to move to number 4. It's always tough to do these things, but we're going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals, right? Best offense in the NBL. We had some weapons here in the offseason. Think that they'll be able to repeat in terms of what they were able to do last year, but they need to prove it on the field. So they check in here at number 4.
See, I'm with this. Kansas City, I said, needed to be higher, but I always would have had the Bengals, ahead of them because Chiefs fell off towards the end of the year. Cincinnati really did not. You didn't see the explosiveness we saw maybe in the first half of the season, the first quarter of the season, but Cincinnati kind of maintained the flame pretty standard. They were putting up big points. They went into the playoffs, not really on a down, and unlike Kansas City, which was a unique situation. So I like them at 4 here, and the only team I really see better than them in that AFC is going to be the Baltimore Ravens right now for me. That's their real competitor, and it's inside the division, so I think maybe they got a chance to even figure that one out as well.
We're not going to talk about the Baltimore Ravens right now. We're going to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
God, no!
Checking in at number 3.
No!
At number 3, they came up short in the Super Bowl. I love their run last year. I don't know if they can do it again, but until somebody proves otherwise, I'm new. I'm back in the NBL. I know nothing, but I do know that run was magical, so I'm going to give them their credit. We're going to put them here at number 3.
This is the typical run by this offense, this head coach. This is how it goes. In those seasons that become kind of open towards the end, you can see that hot team start to build, and that's what we saw with Tampa Bay. And it ran all the way to the Super Bowl. This was a on-fire team going into the playoffs. They were getting pressure. They were making big plays. They could beat you underneath, intermediate, over the top, however you want it. But the ride down Central Park for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is over. I do not believe Tampa makes the playoffs this year. That's my bold prediction. I would hit the horn on it right now. I just don't have the horn present. But that's my bold prediction. It's currently at 3. Yeah, I mean they gotta prove it that they're not who they were last year. 3 is probably a good spot for them.
All right, so coming in number 2, we're going with the Seattle Seahawks. And I know they lost to Tampa Bay in the NFC Championship game. I think the better team did not win that game. I'm here to say it. That team dominated the NFC for the most part last year. All their losses basically came to the AFC. So in terms of the NFC dominance,
we're getting messages in the chat that we left out the Denver Broncos. They were shorted on this list. The Denver Broncos are old. They fell down the stretch.
Older.
They didn't do anything.
They keep getting older.
Yeah.
They just trade a bunch of picks for more old people. What do you guys want from us?
Yeah,
They're
they're going to
old.
get to week
He
16.
lost the division to unisolated.
It's going to be the same
I mean,
thing. Yeah. You got the Kansas City Chiefs running that division, and they're sprinting into the playoffs, or they kind of stall towards the end. Fatigue, whatever you want to say, this is an older group. I just don't like the Denver Broncos too much right now, and I could be wrong. I'm just not a believer in Denver at this moment in time. But let's continue. Who did we have it there at the second spot? Seattle Seahawks, you said?
Yeah, Seattle Seahawks. They're primed to make a run yet again here.
And I'm excited to watch them play. This is what, you know, as good as Cincinnati is, there's something about watching Seattle in Seattle, and I just start thinking greatest show on, it ain't turf. It's outside, obviously, so just a high-flying, high-octane, drive the ball, Malik Willis, exciting team to watch. And I feel like that might have hurt them even in the playoffs, maybe with a little too over the top against a Tampa team that was really set on getting to your quarterback. But I love Seattle at number 2. If they're not 2, they would be 1. So it's good to see that they didn't get overlooked this year. It's still exciting times in Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, what a great saying there. If they weren't 2, they'd be 1. I mean, what does that even mean? Anyways, moving on to Baltimore.
I mean, if you didn't hear them at number 2, they'd probably be number 1. That's how much I believe in them.
Right. No, I get it. So number 1, we're talking about the Baltimore Ravens, right? To be the champ, or to be, you know, you got to beat the champ, right? Like, you got to give it to them. Yeah. Until proven otherwise, we're going to go with the Baltimore Ravens.
And they ended strong. So you look at that team, they came on middle of the season, and it just seems like they never really hit any potholes along the way. Whatever the plan turned into mid-season, whatever that conversation was, defensively they started stepping up. Offensively, in the running attack, they looked a lot better. Lamar Jackson looked a lot more comfortable than he did early in the season. So it's up and up for Baltimore right now. Another real tough team. The AFC has a couple of these teams that are really balling. But, yeah, the Super Bowl champions, MBL Season 51, rightfully so, sitting number 1 there on our power rankings here on MBL 360. And that's going to do it for the show. That's our top 10. We're going to close it out there. Sonny, any final thoughts? I know I passed you the Super Bowl odds. Anybody out there you want to say, hey, I'm going to take this bet. I like the bet. I kind of like the team. It could happen. Just a little $100 you would throw somewhere.
$100. Let me see. Miami plus 50,000. No, that's not a very good bet. If I had to look at the betting odds, I think I like Houston at plus 700. Those odds feel pretty good. I feel like that team's on the up, and I would take Houston plus 700.
There you have it, Sonny says Houston plus 700. That's the bet to have, as you're going to see these Super Bowl odds dropping tonight or tomorrow night there on Twitter or X, whatever you call it. That's going to do it for the show. Appreciate everybody stopping by, checking us out. MBL 360 episode 2. It'll be hot there on YouTube after this show as well. And we'll see you next time here on the MBL Network.